have like these, they burn out hot and fizzle away quick, you know? But I like lived two memes that were famous for a while. You know, Disaster Girl? Where the girl's like giving the creepy smile with like the fire in the background.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
And then there was the boy at the baseball game.
Mm-hmm.
That they like cut to him on camera and he's giving kind of like a sheepish like look, and then he like gives the
Mm-hmm.
yeah. I was driving in and we're in traffic in Santa Cruz as I am every day, and I look over and there's this girl that couldn't be older than the Disaster Girl staring at me in the car next to me, and she's got that creepy smile, and I like look over at her and she doesn't blink, doesn't break eye contact. I look back, check traffic again, pull forward again. Their car catches up. I look over and she does it again. She's still staring at me. And then she gives me the eyebrows.
That is creepifying.
And I'm like, oh my God. And I didn't, but I realized last second, like, oh, watch the cars. And I almost rear-ended the person in front of me. But yeah, it was
that's great.
That's the kind of stuff I deal with on my,
there you go.
On your commute?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, like I mentioned, we're going to talk to Rob Kearney here in just a second. Next week, we're going to have Adrian Conway on, who's going to be doing the color commentary for the CrossFit competition at the Rogue Invitational. We're going to break down men's and women's competition with him. I'll probably do our buy or sell.
Yeah.
I'll throw out some questions and see what we think. And then all next week, so starting Wednesday, we will all be gone, and we will all be in Austin on site for the Rogue Invitational. So our next week's schedule is going to look a little bit different, but we will have tons of coverage, tons of stuff coming on Instagram and also YouTube and audio for the Rogue Invitational. So that is TBD. But hey, if you're going to be on site there, hopefully you'll see us. You probably won't see me. I'll be in the hole above home plate, my little habitat up there. Yeah, my little cave, and Lauren and Tommy will get to do all the fun stuff. But
what kind of snacks can we come slip you?
Well, I'm well taken care of up there because it's in the official press box, right? So there's an area behind, and that's where Todd Sansom's crew works. The Rogue Invitation, the Rogue Media crew, they work there, and they're stocked up. So I just like run out and grab their stuff, and we have people bringing us food. They do a great job of taking care of us. It's just they don't let me out very much. But look, that competition is awesome, and the environment is fantastic. It's first class, top to bottom. One of my favorite things to do, even though it's super busy, and I can't wait. It's going to be so cool. Like that's all I can say. It's just going to be cool.
What a cliffhanger.
Yeah. So there you go. Let's bring in our guest for today. He is the head coach of HWPO Strong and a strongman extraordinaire himself. Our good friend Rob Kearney. Rob, how you doing?
I am doing great. Thank you so much for having me on yet again. It's always fun to come back around and chat with all you guys.
We love having you on, love your perspective on things, and we wanted to talk to you about a couple of things. First off, we have the Rogue Invitational coming up, and there's obviously a big strongman competition there. I know you are not competing, but you know these guys really well. Wanted to get some insight on that, and just wanted to check in on some of the stuff going on with you and the HWPO crew. So let's start with the Rogue Invitational, and I have not been in the world of strongman long, but I've talked to you, Laws and other people in the space, and every competition is sort of known for something. Like I think Laws told me one time that World's Strongest Man is kind of a competition where you move around a lot. And Arnold is more of like a static thing. How would you qualify the Rogue Invitational?
I would qualify it as the beautiful marriage of both of those things.
Okay.
I think the Rogue Invitational one, it's the baby of the big events in strongman, right? Like the strongman portion of the Rogue Invitational has only been around for 3 years. I've been fortunate enough to be at 2 of them. And Rogue really came on and made a statement year one in offering the biggest prize purse in strongman history. And we're continuing to see that trend today. You know, still it's the biggest payout for first place in the space. And one thing that Rogue really does, and we always see with what Rogue and, you know, specifically Katie and Bill Henniger do, is they try to make things even cooler than they already are. Mm-hmm. Right? Like,
yes, they do.
Last year at the Rogue Invitational, yeah, sure, deadlifting 950 pound for reps is cool, but let's put you 10 feet up in the air and make you lift whiskey barrels. right?
Yeah.
They I think one thing that they truly understand is not only is what we do impressive, it has to be a spectacle. And people really get this amazing sense of holy crap when they see what we're doing and the magnitude of what we do it at. So Rogue really does a great job at not only making the events really heavy, but understanding strongmen at our core, we are strength athletes, right? We still have to be able to move. We still have to be able to run, still have to be able to recover, but we just do it at an extreme weight.
And kind of with that in mind, the cool aspect has represented itself in almost a new implement every year, whether they even just put the wheel of pain out in left field just so people could see it, and you had the Roga coaster and the Tower of Power, two things that are in the lineup right now. I'm curious if there's anything that you see off of the listed events so far, you're like, ooh, that could be the cool factor this year on top of what they've already built.
I think the one that I'm most interested to see is the Finger log press medley.
Mm-hmm. Oh.
So now the Fingers is a pretty iconic strongman event, right? They're these massive poles that we have to flip 180 degrees. Mm-hmm. And it's one that is difficult to train because it's not easy to find a 400 pound, 15 foot long pole. But when you add in the element of not only are you flipping this thing, then you have to go into a really heavy log press for reps. We've seen it the past 2 years where they've done the yoke walk into log press and then switching it up into another iconic strongman implement with the Fingers is something that fans don't get to see that often outside of World's Strongest Man. That's really the only time it's done. And now they're bringing it to an audience where, CrossFitters really appreciate what we do as strongman athletes. So for them to kind of expand the viewership into different avenues of what strongman does and the different events that we get to do is really exciting, because the Fingers is one of those events that you have to be able to move quick through it, but it's also heavy, and it kind of favors the bigger guys, but you have to be athletic. So it's this really cool blend of strength and size and athleticism. And then you also have you need that level of conditioning going into the log press. So I think that's going to be a really fun event to watch.
I think it's interesting because so many of the implements that you see in strongman, like I see you on Instagram and what your home gym looks like. You don't have a wheel of pain in there. You don't have some of these massive pieces of equipment. And as CrossFitters, it's like we need to have every piece of equipment before we get on the competition floor to practice them. So for you and the other strongman athletes, how do you practice some of these movements that you might only touch 3 times a year when you get on the competition floor?
So training for the Wheel of Pain the past few years, I did a little experiment with my truck. And what I realized was how many clicks do I have to put on the e-brake to get the right resistance to where, so I would actually push my truck up my driveway with the e-brake on to train for the Wheel of Pain. Right. So I have about a 75, I have like a 75 foot long driveway. I'm like, okay, Wheel of Pain is 60 seconds. How hard do I have to make this push to where I'm pushing it the entire distance, that entire time? So we get pretty, we get some ingenuity in there and figure things out, and I mean, even for me, I'm getting ready for America's Strongest Man, which is the following week after the Rogue Invitational. And one of the events we have is power stairs, and it's literally picking up really heavy weights up a bunch of steps. So I've been making trips out to a gym almost 2 hours away from me every other weekend to be able to go train that event. So we just make sacrifices and make the trips to gyms that might have the equipment that is close to what we're going to be doing in competition.
Do you have neighbors that stare at you?
Yeah.
All right, I have to ask.
What is that guy doing?
Yeah.
You obviously, again, are not competing, but this is a very stacked field, always is at the Rogue Invitational. And this is kind of the only, I don't want to say the only, but it's one of the main exposures that CrossFit fans get to strongman. And if you're a CrossFit fan and you haven't watched a strongman competition, please do, because it's awesome. Like, it's so fun to watch. Who are for those people who might be tuning in for the first time, who are the athletes they should be watching in this competition?
I mean, first and foremost, the name that comes to the front of the list is Mitch Hooper, right? I mean, this guy, he came onto the scene first, really in the pro strongman, the international scene. He came on hot in 2022, a World's Strongest Man, taking 8th place in the finals. Which World's Strongest Man is an interesting competition because 30 athletes get there. There are 4 days of qualifying, and you have to make it out of the qualifying groups to even make it to the finals. And for him to take 8th place his first year is just wild. But to add to that pedigree even more, ever since that event, he has not been off the podium. He's won the biggest competitions. He's won the Arnold. He's won World's Strongest Man. Took 2nd place at the Shaw Classic this year. And he's just one of those athletes that he's an athletic guy. He knows how to use his body. And one thing that strongmen really have to be good at is being adaptable really quickly under the circumstances we're given. So because a lot of these implements we've never touched until we're on the competition floor, a lot of it's figuring out, how do I get my body to move this implement as efficiently as possible? And he's just really good at that. Other names to look at are Tom Stoltman, 2-time World's Strongest Man. The guy's a monster. He's 6'9", 440 pounds, just a behemoth of a human. And he's always a force to be reckoned with. And then you have, 2 guys that were at the top of the podium last year, Oleksiy Novikov coming back, who won the competition last year, and Trey Mitchell, who just barely taken 2nd place. So there's, going down the list of names here, it's just, it's one of these ones where you look at the 10 competitors and it's like, cool, 8 of you could be on the podium. It's really impressive for us to be at a point in the sport where every single competition, every person on the competition floor has a chance to be top 3.
Yeah.
What do you think has brought the sport to that point? There's, any sort of sport kind of has its, machinations of the early adopters. They joke in basketball. They used to say that, the early guys were playing against plumbers and electricians and stuff like that. Then you have the professionalization of a sport, and then you get money and all these other things that start to pour into it, and athleticism